Burnout is an interesting phenomenon that we face, particularly in dentistry. I think the roots of it, and this might be biased, but I think the roots of burnout when it comes to business ownership and dentistry, they're two completely different skill sets. And I think a lot of people go into dentistry thinking that if I become the best clinician possible and focus all my efforts just on clinical development and clinical evolution, that the business stuff will take care of itself. And what happens is the clinical side of things gets handled very, very well. But if you don't run a very efficient enterprise, then you end up splitting your attention to human resources and marketing and operational issues, trying to do things without systems, trying to haphazardly train and onboard team members. Those are the things that actually end up engulfing our attention and creating the vast majority of burnout, I believe, from what I've seen with working with thousands of dental practice owners over the last 20 years. So I think that if in the beginning you take the business development and business acumen as seriously as you take the clinical development, then you can really, really position yourself to avoid that hamster wheel and that burnout trap. Specifically, if you are able to build an operation where you are not the primary or sole provider, and you can build a strong enough business where you're onboarding good associates and you're multiplying your ability to generate income within the four walls of your dental practice, that of course is going to decrease burnout, right? I always say that there's two different things that you need to keep in mind. You can't produce your way out of a broken infrastructure. And the only way to avoid burnout in general is if you figure out a way to make dentistry optional, clinical dentistry optional. And that's what I was able to do towards the end of my career, right? So I was able to put good associates in my practices. I was able to assemble an effective executive level team that could run the systems that I helped to create. And then I could stand back and take a broader view of the business, and I could select the patients that I wanted to see and the types of clinical procedures that I wanted to do. And dentistry became optional. And that is a beautiful, clinical dentistry for me became optional. And that is a beautiful place to be. And that's the best way to structure your life and your business. That's a good goal in order to avoid that whole burnout thing. But when you're doing procedures, sometimes 2 or 3 patients simultaneously and doing a couple hygiene checks and worrying about HR, marketing, operations, and all of that stuff, it's impossible to avoid burnout. So you have to keep in mind that you have to structure your business in a way that the business is actually running itself, and your executive team or the leaders in your team are running the business, and you're able to focus on the clinical aspects of things. That's the best way to avoid it.